Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. I welcome today's guest, Daga Wozniak. Daga is a 14-time national team member and has won numerous Pan-American titles and medals. She is also a two-time Olympian and won bronze in Rio 2016. She is a two-time world champion and won medals at the World Championships for 5 consecutive years. She is currently third in the US and is currently training for the Tokyo 2021 Olympic Games. We'll also have Nicole Ross, one of our previous guests in this series, co-hosting this video with me. Thank you, Daga and Nicole, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Jacob.
So the first thing we're going to do today is, we're not going to have a video clip today, but Daga, I just wanted to ask you, I was doing some background reading about your profile and your bio and some of your best accomplishments. And a common theme I noticed was that you kind of have the persona of a warrior. So just like kind of based on the confidence you exude and the way you carry yourself on the strip, could you walk us through your mindset and how you came to develop that confidence in your fencing?
Well, thank you. That's I never had someone put it in a nutshell like that. Yeah, I think my mindset is, it's a combat sport, so you got to kind of seem dominant. It's kind of like facing a bear, you might be really terrified inside, but you're giving off a persona of, like this warrior and that inner confidence that is there, but maybe sometimes you don't always believe it. So I think that there's a lot of power in letting your opponent know, how you're feeling. So definitely putting out a lot of confidence is a powerful tool. And, I'm also really inspired by amazing female athletes that are around me in my sport, such as Nicole. So, there's always that kind of backs that up as well.
Thanks, Daga. I'm so inspired by you two. I'm really excited to get to ask you a few questions today about your mindset. And I also have that similar idea. Bucky actually taught us this phrase, like run to the roar, right? Where you like run at what you're afraid of, or, you face it with that kind of confidence. So I love that mentality. But
yeah.
I just wanted to know how you, as a fencer with all your experience, handle really clutch situations at high level competition. So for example, 14-14 or 44-44, what's your mentality when you're handling those kind of situations?
Well, through my experience, I realized that, there's a lot of experience that goes to giving, being able to tackle that situation well. And I think that the first couple of times I realized, it is a high pressure situation, but how everything starts to crash, right? Like your fear of the situation of like, I might possibly lose this. It's come down to just one simple thing, like one point to, announce a winner, and it could mean a gold medal, it could mean making the second day. So like no matter what the situation is, there's a lot of like weight to it. So I think first kind of saying like it's not that big of a deal was the biggest tackle for me. And I remember I was struggling with that a lot, and someone who kind of gave me, I guess you could say, like a mental tool in order to try to get over it. I remember telling Ivan Lee a lot, that look, I get to 14-14, or I'm at 14 and someone's at 11, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I might win, so the fear of winning is also something that definitely comes along. So I think starting to think, instead of thinking that 15 was the end, think you're fencing to 20. Kind of took the pressure off a little bit, took the edge off. So I started thinking it as that way. And now I've been in it so many times that I'm just like, listen, whatever happens, happens. I mean, I've got to this point, and, I really do love fencing, and I love those situations actually, as much as they don't feel so good, when you don't do well. But yeah, I think making it not seem as big of a deal as people might think was definitely one of the best ways to tackle that situation.
I guess that kind of segues into our next question, which is there's always like those clutch moments, 14-14, 44-44 at the end of a bout. But I feel like a situation that people don't prepare for as most often is when you're up. So it could be 14-13, you're up 14-12, 14-11, or maybe in like 9-7 or 10-3. What is your mentality to close out the bout strong? And especially, what do you do when it starts to go south?
Well, one thing to kind of prepare for that, I tell everybody, practice what you think might happen at a competition, and practice is the perfect opportunity for that, right? I think a lot of the times when we're getting into the sport, we just kind of go through the motion, and then we get to the competitions and it's like, I'm not ready for this. So I started to take mental notes of like, okay, every time I was at 14, up by a couple, I would lose, and like, dissect the situation. Why? What was going through my mind? Not say like, oh, I lost, I suck, cry about it, and then kind of say like, pack it away in a box and never discuss it again. I really wanted to break it down and understand like what is going on in this situation. And then I started to do it at practice, even with people that maybe our skill level was a little bit, different, and I could win the bout most of the time. I would put myself down, or I would put myself in a situation that was similar to what happens at competition. Be up a couple points and then let it get even, and then really fight for that last touch. So I think it's, there's a lot of muscle memory that we go through physically, but then there's a lot of mental muscle memory that we can also practice at practice, which is the perfect opportunity, because if you lose, it doesn't matter. You could just try again.
Exactly.
So Daga, just to follow up on that, a little less specific, I know we've talked now about, you like to practice these situations, being up, being down, how you handle that. But what about adversity in general in fencing? How have you handled that? And I know both of us have dealt with a lot of physical adversity in the form of injuries. So what is your advice to others, and how do you personally handle adversity in all its forms, in different forms in your career?
Well, hopefully I don't have to go down every single one, because then we'll be here for hours. So many injuries. I've had so many injuries, and I don't even think that that's the last one for me. But I think that, it's nothing's perfect. And I think that if we're just trying to always say like, okay, I'll do well when the situation is optimal, I'll do well when like all the stars align, that's, chasing a fantasy. And I hate to make it sound so like, harsh, but I think it's those glorious moments. And I know you're right there with me. It's when everything is going wrong that like somehow you're still able to focus, and then you do well, or you win, or like you really come home not empty-handed, like you worked for that, and it just feels so good. So I think it's getting over those those things that stand in our way, those obstacles. And with something like injuries, yes, it sucks to get hurt, and it sucks to, have surgery, things like that. But I think that to shift your mentality, it's all about mentality. So I think once you start saying like, okay, I can't, I'm going to be in crutches for a while, but like, what else can I do? I'm not very good at video review. I'm not very good at meditating. I'm not very good at, reading books, or like, I don't stick with it. So those are opportunities to build on other skills to then come back even stronger.
Mm-hmm. So I think you kind of started to briefly touch on this, but so in practice, like I know a common problem I face myself, and I'm sure many other fencers, is that you have to balance training to win versus training to practice new skills. So I was wondering what your perspective was on that, and how do you negotiate that balance between getting that competitive edge on the strip in practice versus trying to refine your technical skills?
Well, I think that you can actually combine those. I think that having that pressure, we can never recreate the pressure that we have at competition, but I think that if you combine those two, so you're practicing your skill with pressure, the pressure to win, I think that it gives a lot of value. And then when it comes to competition, it's like, doesn't matter how great you look or how nice the movements are, like you got to be scrappy. Like you just got to do whatever you can to win. But I think at practice, it's like the best opportunity to kind of merge both those things, be competitive, be in each other's face, and at the same time, under that pressure, really focus on how well can I also be able to execute the things that I'm working on.
Okay.
So Daga, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I'm also really competitive, so I'm always trying to win.
I love that. I need to be a little more competitive in practice sometimes. I'm getting better, but it's a struggle.
Well, I think it's what works for you, like if we can't compare each other, like yeah. We all do workouts differently. Like there's no that's what I really also love about fencing is there's no recipe for success. It's just literally honing in on what works for you and like just focusing on that to the max.
Totally. So moving away from practice actually toward competition, do you find yourself after all these years on the circuit, so much experience, do you still get nervous? And if so, how do you handle it?
Oh yeah, I think for me, you know, maybe this is too confident of a statement, but I think anyone who's saying that they're not nervous, it's full of it. I just think it's really powerful, you know, what they say, like butterflies flying in formation. So I think being able to acknowledge the fact that you're nervous, but using it or controlling it is that's what we work for. And that's what is the difference between elite athletes and, you know, kind of everybody else and the people who succeed a lot. So I think, yeah, I think I definitely get nervous, but then one thing that I worked on with my confidence coach, you know, you can go there, but you can't stay there. So I can go there like, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I didn't work hard enough. Maybe I, you know, this, rattling off the things that are really going to take away from my confidence. And then just acknowledge, no, I did work hard. No, I am ready. No, I've got this. This is what I prepared for. And just kind of like speaking your truth, to just kind of say, okay, like, crazy Daga, like I know you're not confident, but like this warrior is gonna come out and like really, you know, take the reins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess like confidence, like whenever, especially at the beginning of a tournament, that's like crucial for just kind of getting the overall feel of just the fencing in that day. So I was wondering, like at the beginning of the day, you know, you get to the venue, you start your warm up strategy, you start your warm up routine. I was wondering, what is your mental warm up routine, and how do you get yourself in the zone for this?
Yeah, so it's definitely, you know, what I was saying before to Nicole is, you know, every athlete should find what is going to give them the best warm up. And I think too often when we're trying to get into the zone, you know, it's like, you know, maybe you're distracted on your phone or you're whatever doing something that actually works for you even, and then you see someone else doing something and you're like, oh well, they're doing these jump kick warm up thing, like maybe I should be doing that, maybe I should be doing this, maybe I should act like I don't care like this person, you know. So I think once you start kind of distracting yourself, that's something that, you know, I try to stay away from. So I know it works for me. I've done it for so many years. I know how long it takes me to warm up, and even being like nerdy and trying to get to the venue early because, you know, I'm not 18 anymore, so I need a little bit more time than other athletes to warm up and pace myself up. So yeah, I think, you know, finding what works for you and then doing that routine and making sure that you're warmed up mentally, physically, and also visualization. I kind of imagine the competition like, okay, not necessarily winning, but I imagine the movements. I see myself moving the way that I want to, and I feel like my body's a little bit more prepared to do that.
So Daga, this is something I have watched you do really well in your career, and like I'm definitely inspired by this, and I'm always trying to find ways to be better at this. But how do you deal with bad calls from referees or just being frustrated with the call, feeling like things are, you know, turning against you in an unfair way? What's your strategy for handling that kind of distraction?
Whew. I mean, that stuff definitely still gets to me, but you know, this was something going into Rio that really helped me because, you know, I tore my calf and I was just like, oh my God, like, how am I going to do this? Like I had already made the team, but now I'm thinking, you know, preparation into that. How is this going to work? So literally wrote it in permanent marker on my wall in front of my bed, focus on what you can control and let everything else go. You know, I think it's really crucial to find a mantra for every athlete, but as much as the external things can really upset us, it's not in our control. If the ref is weak and doesn't see calls your way, or if he is playing a political game, or if, I don't know, the sun is, you know, coming through the glass, which, come on, we've had those situations before because these places are sometimes, you know, built in the 60s. So it's like all these distractions can kind of come up. And it's just like, listen, I can walk away from a situation saying like, I did everything I could. And if the ref didn't see it my way, then there's nothing I can do. And you know, grinding my nerves and getting so upset over that, it's just literally going to stress me out and make me age faster. So, you know, just gotta let it go. I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but those moments where you can not distract, especially in a moment in a match where you feel like, okay, the ref's not seeing something, when you let that stress in, and you're able to kind of think clearly in the situation in the moment, you're still able to kind of capitalize. So even if you have to win 20-14, you can have the mental capacity to do that. But once you start getting frustrated and you know, disheartened and like distracted by the ref, then I think that's when, you know, crash and burn, and then we always kind of blame the situation. But we're still in a very good position to control what's going on.
So I guess like all of these are really great insights about the mental state of fencing, like from warm up to tournament to director interference. So I was wondering, how did you go about developing this? Like, was there a moment in time, or was there a figure in your life that helped you become more introspective and reflective on your mindset?
You know, I always wanted to be the best athlete that I could, and even though, you know, taking a shot at myself, I'm not accomplished as I want to be, and you know, running out of time, so I won't be able to accomplish the things that I want. I still wanted to make every time next time better. So after, you know, the crying and kind of, okay, I messed up, instead of saying, you know, I can't do this, give up, quit, or say, I just don't want to think about it. I really either talking with my friends or my coach, finding someone who can really kind of help break it down with you. That's why surrounding yourself with supportive people is so important. But I think I always try to improve. And if I failed, then I would just think, okay, do it again, you know, look at it again, break it down again. And, you know, I've had talks with younger girls as well. And, you know, I hear them say, like, how did you get so confident? Like, how do you know all this? There's years and years of failing, years and years of figuring it out. And, you know, just because we're Olympians doesn't mean we have it figured out. We're still struggling with a lot of daily stuff in our daily lives. So, you know, life is a learning experience. You just got to learn from it and move forward.
I love that. I think you've touched on this a little bit, but if there's just one thing that you could, you know, one piece of advice that you could give to young listeners and watchers of this series who are looking to improve their mindset and their fencing in general, what would it be?
I would definitely say focus on yourself. You know, I did too long hours, days, years of comparing myself to other people, whether it's body type, skill level, you know, everyone, you can't compare. Like, I love, it's so, I guess you say corny, but like, you can't compare your chapter 10 to someone's chapter 35. Like, everyone's on a different training path. Everyone's on a different, you know, situation, environment, and all that. So like, you just gotta find out what works for you, focus on yourself, and break it down. You know, what can you do better to become the best athlete that you want to be, if those are your goals.
That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. Wow.
Daga, I just have one more question for you. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about your t-shirt?
Oh yeah. So this is a t-shirt that I kind of teamed up with a company called Novice, and it's like athletic gear, and has my little logo on it, and it has 3 stars to represent you know, training for my 3rd team. And yeah, and it's like super lightweight, and I love it, and I feel so professional.
Is it available? Like, is your line available?
Currently it's not available. We closed the store, but we are doing some new designs. So if people want to go to my website and sign up for the newsletter, and it will definitely be coming out soon.
Awesome.
Okay, everybody, make sure to check out Daga's website and pick up all her merch. Yeah, but,
Thanks
wow.
so much.
Yeah, wow, those were some totally great mindsets or insights about the mental state of fencing. You know, as you can see, Daga's mindset allowed her to have consistent, sustained success. Mindset and mental grit are some of the most overlooked tools of fencing that any fencer can use to improve their fencing, including you. I hope that by watching this video, you can get some ideas about what the best in the business are doing themselves. I'm your host, Jacob Lei, and thank you for watching.
Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.